podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Well, here we are again at the beginning of what I worked out by counting on my fingers is the 12th season of this here podcast.
You have 12 fingers?
No, I got to 10 and then started again.
Oh, wow. Look how that works.
It's like the tally system, basically.
You do have web feet, though, so, you know, it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? 12th?
I don't know.
Season.
I do not want this season to start on this footing, Ed. There was no need for that. Let's establish some ground rules after all this time.
How have you been? Not grown webbing between your toes during the summer, then?
I mean, it's been a remarkable summer, hasn't it? The Euros were absolutely unbelievable. Watching the kind of... it was just a brilliant tournament, and obviously being an England fan, most of it was, until like the very, very, very end bit, was an unbelievable ride. There's been super loads of cricket on, the Olympics has been on, it's been sport left, right and centre. And I have barely thought about Manchester United, I have to say. They've been low down the pecking order in things that I've thought about in the last couple of months. How's your summer been?
Yeah, same really. So watched all the sport, enjoyed the Euros, and mostly, apart from the tens of thousands of England fans rioting. Or near rioting, which wasn't so awesome. And of course, it all ended in disappointment for Gareth Southgate's Brave Lions or something like that. But the football overall was really high quality at the Euros, wasn't it? And then, which can't be said for the football at the Olympics. Not such high quality, although I have to be honest, I didn't watch very much of that. And it's been
that felt torturous. The idea of watching another international football sort of fake competition after
so pointless.
The Euros.
It's an under-23 tournament, but they added a year on because it's been a 5-year cycle this time round.
Right.
So it was an under-24 tournament, and they allowed 3 over 24s as well. So basically, they're all B teams. Basically, these were not kids playing. I just don't see the point. And then there was
They were unlucky timing-wise. Like, mind you, it would have all been last year, wouldn't it? But the Copa America and the Euros and then the Olympics, it was hard for teams to send really high quality
teams.
Who won? Is it over?
Brazil won in extra time.
Oh, that's nice.
A lad called Malcolm scored the winner.
Of course he did. It's the world we live in where that's what Brazilians are called.
That's right. Former Bordeaux and Barcelona player, I think I'm right in saying. And... I think Richarlison might have scored the other one. Spain were the second place, silver medalists,
right?
The second winners. And
England were the silver medalists of the Euros.
That's right. Yeah, if they'd accepted their silver medals, which they all threw down in disgust, which
correct,
brought
good move,
much consternation from the back pages. Anyway, we've talked far too much about Olympic football there. The rest of the Olympics, just as we're recording, just came to a close. Rather difficult to watch the Olympics. Well, I was going to say rather difficult to watch the Olympics live where I am, although very early in the morning, very late at night. Actually, there was quite a lot live. And then, of course, watched all the highlights on the various streaming channels, which was, it was all good fun. Are you into BMXing and speed rock climbing now?
Yeah, basically, the Olympic sports I like the best are the X Games. I don't know why I don't just watch the X Games, because, that's really genuinely... in sort of time spent, BMX and skateboarding is by far the most I've watched the Olympics this summer.
I did quite enjoy the karate, the version of the karate when they fight an invisible man.
I didn't see that.
No. So there's 2 forms of karate in the Olympics. One is the version where you punch each other, and the other version is where you punch someone you just do the moves, and it's like an artistic merit competition.
Wow, that sounds cool. Actually, it's weird in the UK because the rights got split. And anyway, should we talk about Man United?
Yeah, well, you know what? It was a rather drama-free summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have to start with the only thing that anyone who likes football cares about, which is transfers. And it's been a weird summer because instinctively you think, wow, what an amazing summer. But actually, if you subdivide it into categories, it's a definite mixed bag. I mean, quality of players signed, well, this is the best summer United have ever had. Like, Sancho and Varane, that's Football Manager stuff. That's FIFA career mode stuff. That's like, what's happened? You're telling me that since me and you last talked, Man United have signed Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane? I mean, that's mind-boggling.
It's two great signings. You can, I suppose, if you want to be nitpicky, you can point to Varane's age. But it's a perfect signing for United right now. He's got many years left. Sancho, awesome. I mean, it's a shame they didn't do it last summer, really. But they've got the deal done eventually, and early enough in the summer that he's been able to join pre-season after coming back from the Euros. Rafael Varane, not quite so. He's holed up in an apartment training in his garden because he has to quarantine.
Yeah.
But
nothing can be done about that.
Not much can be done about that. So he'll start the season a bit cold. So it might take a few games for him to get back in.
Well, Sancho too, right? Because he's only just joining up with the squad now, or yesterday, maybe even.
That's right. He didn't play in the preseason game, did he? Against
No,
Everton.
I don't think he's joined up with the squad yet. I think he's joining the squad maybe today, or I don't think we've seen training pictures and stuff of him there. I think he's been on holiday. Because it's weird though, isn't it? You don't know why that he wouldn't have been there a bit sooner, given that Maguire and Shaw both played.
Yeah, not sure.
Anyway, the Varane signing, both signings. One of the things that I heard a lot behind the scenes is actually United behaved completely professionally in both of those signings. The Dortmund deal, there was no faffing about. It was very clear. It does look like the new structure has made an impact on the way these transfers were negotiated. There was lots of very positive noises about how the Varane deal in particular was handled, with United kind of genuinely prepared to walk away at one point, and then Madrid lowering their price as a result of that. So well done to the staff at United who are responsible for football negotiations, I guess.
Yes, I think it was helped very much in both of these cases that both players chose United. I mean, this is like, we might have mentioned it at the end of last season, but or maybe we were just chatting over the summer. How often does a really top quality player choose to leave Real Madrid? Like, it's almost always where Real want to boot them out, isn't it? And in this case, they would have kept Varane, but for the player deciding he wants to go, and they're in a financially difficult position, not quite as bad as Barcelona, and we can talk about how bad that is.
God. Yeah.
But they basically needed to take the cash rather than let him run out his contract. So, the stars aligned for United as well as the structure coming into play. And I do note that there has been some, murmurings amongst the good folk of Fleet Street that Ed Woodward was highly involved in both deals. I wonder what WhatsApp group he's briefing that into.
Yeah, that's definitely not the story I heard. So that's interesting, isn't it? That's really funny. So that's the good, and we'll talk in more detail about both of those players we'll talk a bit about them more today, but I also think we'll talk about them as they join the side and we start to see them in action. I mean, they're both slam dunks as far as I'm concerned. The Varane thing, like you said, his age, it's actually a positive, really. I mean, obviously, financially, it's not a positive, but it's a positive to have an older, more experienced head in that back four, which is still quite a young back four, and it's definitely young at latter stages of the Champions League, etc., etc. That's not somewhere where that team's gone. Those players have gone.
Yeah.
So that's good to have that experience there, and he's quick. So I mean, honestly, like my two requirements for a central defender were competent and fast. These were the only two things that I cared about really, because we saw what Maguire could do at the Euros with a structure around him and a defender alongside him that complemented him.
Yes, he looked a completely different player, didn't he, alongside John Stones?
Yeah.
I mean, Calamity John Stones has now turned into a consummate defender, which I'm not sure everyone thought that would actually happen. But Maguire was excellent in that tournament, and I think you're absolutely right. I had a chat with Dan Altman from Smarter Scout in the summer, and we'll drop it into this feed at some point. And his view was, all of that is true, and the one area that Varane may not be as strong at is being very proactive. But that is fine, because you're with Harry Maguire, who, knowing there's someone quick behind him to mop up, can attack those balls, right? Maguire's the Vidic to Varane's Ferdinand in this analogy, hopefully.
Well, absolutely, that's the plan, isn't it? And both the fullbacks are super proactive. I mean, Luke Shaw. My heart grows 3 sizes every time I think about him at the moment. We'll talk about him.
Shawberto was in action against Everton and looked very lively then as well.
That Luke Shaw's Euros genuinely moving to me, like genuinely, especially with that absolute what's it on the sideline sniping at him like he's, Piers Morgan talking about Meghan Markle. Like it's the same level of obsession, dangerous, uncomfortable obsession. But anyway,
I note that your favourite manager is already turning Roma into a total circus.
They lost a pre-season match 5-2. 2 Roma players got sent off. Mourinho got sent off. Pre-season.
Absolutely magic. I do wonder whether the Friedkin family and the private equity group that brought him in really knows what they're doing here. Just,
Well, wonder no longer. They simply do not. Like they brought in Mourinho. They don't know what they're doing. The Sancho sign. I mean, Varane also, I do think, at the risk of sounding like, a Sam Allardyce stan, that there is a danger when a player comes, in particular in central defence, when a player comes to the Premier League, they are going to have to do some adapting. That I don't think is a kind of proper football man cliche. I do think we've seen it a lot. We've seen players try and win fouls and be surprised when the referee doesn't give them when they come to the league. I mean, Varane is vastly experienced, and I'm sure will understand the challenges, and is obviously, like, he's played international football against in all sorts of different styles. But there will be a bit of a culture shock, I would imagine.
I'm sure there will be. I mean, the league's not nearly as physical as it once was, but it is faster than La Liga, no doubt, and the Champions League. And there will be a bit of adaptation there. But I think he's going to be fine, and he's less risky than the other options. Konate has gone to Liverpool. I think he will take some adaptation for sure. And if Jules Koundé ends up at Chelsea, I mean, he was the other option for United, apparently. If he ends up at Chelsea, he's definitely going to find it a bit of a shock, because he's not a physical player. Although he's, for a very small central defender, he's got quite a leap on him.
Right.
So, but anyway, I think it's fair to say 2 really excellent signings. It would just be the perfect summer if United could find the right kind of balance in a defensive midfielder. And it doesn't have to be, Ndidi makes 87 tackles a game. It could be a sort of controlling midfielder, a bit deeper, and then, Fred or McTominay play alongside them. But at the moment, we know, and, I guess we'll talk about each area of the pitch. That is the area where there isn't the right kind of balance in our squad. And, if they can round off the summer transfer window by buying one of those central midfielders, defensive midfielders, then it would be A1 perfect as a summer. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we do?
Because
go ahead. Sorry.
Let's just talk about Sancho a little bit more, because this is Varane's the sort of more surprising signing. Sancho, there's a little bit of the excitement of the act of signing him is taken out of it by the 2-year-long saga or whatever, but the player and the need for him in the squad. I mean, this is the thing about those two players. You know, obviously we had the window, that Van Gaal window, when they bought Di Maria and Falcao, and, you know, there was kind of swinging for the fences. This window is like much more forensic and much more kind of targeted. What are the problems in the squad? Well, we haven't addressed the third of the three desperate needs in the squad, right? But we've addressed two of the three desperate needs in the squad, that is unheard of, because Sancho, and this is what I was going to go on to say when I was talking about Varane adapting to the league, I do think Sancho will have some adapting to do, because we've seen attacking players. There's not an attacking player that's come from the Bundesliga in the last few years that I can think of off the top of my head that has immediately put the same numbers up in the Premier League that they put up in the Bundesliga. Which is not to say, you know, it's a fraud farmers league or anything.
It's definitely not, but yeah.
No, obviously, but clearly the defending is not. It is a less defensive league in the Premier League. That is, the numbers are just. It's just every single time it happens.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be incredible.
I think, I think he's going to be great. He's going to bring a real balance to United's attack. I guess we're all imagining that he will play off the right and when fit, Rashford will play off the left, with Cavani and Greenwood sharing attacking duties or something, or Martial if they don't sell him, something along that lines. But he can play anywhere across the front line. I mean, I think it's just like, it's instructive to think about, you know, because I did dig into some of his stats earlier in the summer, just to think about, you know, what he brings. He is 99th percentile in the top 5 Euro leagues for assists. You know, 94th percentile for expected assists, 96th percentile for shot creating actions, 99th percentile for passes attempted. You know, 96th percentile for progressive passes, a real problem for United. You know, he's 96th percentile for dribbles completed, and, you know, 100th percentile sharing with Marcus Rashford for nutmegs completed. He's going to bring an awful lot to United's game, and he can play. And I think that progressive passes one is the interesting one. He's not come in to touch, you know, to hug the touchline and put in crosses. He has, amongst his 54 assists for Dortmund, 1 came from outside the box. He's not going to be pinging crosses across. He's going to come to play join the dots football. And, you know, I think we can expect him to drift inside and get a lot of assists like that. And get into attacking positions near the goal, which, of course, you know, it's an obvious take, but the nearer you are the goal, the more dangerous the chances you create.
And that attacking quintet, let's say 7, assuming we keep Pogba, which if PSG sign Messi, they're not buying Pogba this summer, right? Surely they're not buying Pogba this summer.
It depends whether because look, they can afford it, right? They can't afford it in terms of actual revenues, but they can afford it because they're a state-owned club. I think really this is political. It's can they, now that Nasser is sat on the UEFA board and PSG are all powerful because they weren't part of the Super League shenanigans, does he really want to say, yeah, FFP in a very obvious way? Because like they literally can't afford it in FFP. You know, their wage budget is going to be 600 million plus or something like that. They just, you know, there is no TV deal in France. They don't pull in gate receipts. You know, they can add a couple of sponsors beginning with the letter Q, but I think everyone knows that's a sham. So I think it's just like, how much do they want to stick their fingers up at FFP and the ashes of that particular set of regulations or not? And how much do United want to dig in on getting a fee?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, but let's just assume, because 3 weeks ago, I was just assuming that, well, the season's going to have plenty of fun in it, but we're going to have a massive missing piece of the puzzle because Pogba will have left. I'm not sure I feel exactly the same about that now. If he's there, Pogba, Bruno, Sancho, Rashford, Cavani, Martial, Greenwood, like, that is all bases covered from an attacking perspective. That's balance, that's depth, that's cover in each of the positions. I mean, still, if Sancho's not available, the right becomes the problem that it once was, but we know Greenwood can play there. So it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's amazing to have those riches. And we should, with those attackers and our defence, like the back four particularly, we should be talking about, well, why? I mean, apart from the scars of the last however many years, and maybe some fears about Solskjaer's limitations, how could we not be saying this team should absolutely, without doubt, be challenging for the title?
Yeah, I think so. I think looking at the numbers again and just the smell test, I think the two signings on their own, assuming neither gets injured and they can play a full season, is going to add something like 6 or 8 points to United's tally.
Yeah,
all things being equal, and that's what 80 to 82 points. Is not going to win the league. 80 or 82 points, I don't think. Not. I think. In a season that's not going to be as compressed and therefore not going to challenge some of the teams in the way it did. But add a really strong defensive midfielder and maybe add another 3 or 4 points onto that as well. Funny, I think it was The Athletic that did a piece. Was it The Athletic or Smarter Scout? One of them did a piece comparing some defensive midfield options, and Camavinga adds 5. Now, I haven't seen a lot of him. I don't know about you, but he's generally seen as a kind of all-rounder midfielder rather than a pure defensive midfielder, and super young. So I don't know whether I really believe those numbers or not. But I think it's fair to think about it that way. These two pieces that we've added are going to add quite a few points, I imagine, all things being equal. And the third one would really make a challenge, even if the squad isn't quite as strong as City's last season. City plus Jack Grealish and possibly plus Harry Kane. We'll see.
Yeah, and we're recording this on Sunday the 8th, so a week ahead of when the season starts. The one thing I've got no idea, you might not know, don't worry if we don't know, does the transfer window in the Premier League, are they doing the same thing where the European transfer window closes before the season starts?
I don't think so. I think they ditched that one, if I remember them voting on that, because of none of the other Euro leagues followed along. So I think it's something like 1st or 2nd of September, but I'm happy to be totally wrong on that one, but I seem to remember that. Yeah, I didn't look it up, but I think that's right. I mean, so there are 3 weeks. I mean, the noise is everyone seems to be saying that United are now, that's the budget spent, and United need to sell to buy, basically.
Which, if you were talking about Football Manager terms, actually what it is more than the budget spent. It's the budget was spent, and then you did the thing where he said, would you like the board to negotiate this transfer for the Varane one? Because it's he's so important, we'll stretch the budget 10, 15 million or whatever, because, that we thought it was 100 million. We've spent more than that. That's the way it goes. And this brings us to, so we need to talk about the midfield aspect of it. It's interesting that the points tally thing is interesting, because I think you're right in terms of the raw numbers, but I wonder if you look at the kind of holistic balance of the team, that on that score, that kind of unquantifiable score, the holistic balance of the team looks 1,000 times better.
Oh yeah,
it's like when and now we look like there's one problem in the first team.
Yes.
Now, how often you can get the first team on the pitch, of course, is another question.
Yeah, but there's some depth there. They've added 2 extra players, so there's more depth. And Jesse Lingard has returned. There's more depth. We'll see whether he survives the transfer window or not. I think in what you're hinting at there is a stylistic thing as well. I think United will be able to play more front foot football now, because you can trust Varane and Maguire in 1v1 defensive situations in a way that you definitely cannot trust Lindelof. Definitely cannot trust Lindelof, So it should allow United to be a bit more proactive. Now, whether that translates into not playing McFred and being able to play a different balance in midfield, that might depend, I think. I think that might depend on either another signing or how confident we feel about Paul Pogba playing in that position. I mean, we don't, do we? Right? Without N'Golo Kante alongside him, and as good a summer as Fred had, he's definitely not N'Golo Kante. He had a very good Copa America, but playing in a different balance in that midfield. So I do think that's it is a problem in terms of the balance in the midfield, but United are still able to play more front foot football. Now, apart from that balance, the other real problem United have in midfield playing McFred is there's zero ball progression. The Athletic did a good piece, Tom Warville did a good piece a couple of days ago, looking at he called it expected threat. It's a way of basically stringing together expected assists and XG chain into a new metric that says, like when you have the ball in what area of the pitch with what player. What are the chances that you'll create chances from that?
Yeah.
And United are very, very weak. Both, it's the smell test, right? You can look at United with McFred and know the ball's not going to go forward very effectively, and the numbers bear that out too.
Yeah, and Luke Shaw and Bruno Fernandes are massive outliers in the United side because they both progress the ball phenomenally often and well. The other aspect of the transfer window, which the budget brings to mind, is, this thing that now, okay, we have to sell to buy. And the one thing that hasn't happened, as far as I'm aware, has anyone left?
No, just some kids. The usual churn there, but no senior players at all. So, and I think it would be fair to say there's quite a few are available. But there's no cash in the market, right?
Phil Jones, Andreas Pereira. Lingard, if the right offer comes in, I think that he's a bit less available. But Diogo Dalot, all the players that were on loan last season, it's a substantial. We don't own Alexis Sanchez anymore, do we? He's actually gone. And Does Lukaku going to Chelsea count as a player sale for Man United?
Oh, yes, United get a percentage of the profit. I think it's low single digits, so I think it's like 5%, something like that. So it's not going to be a loss of money. But United sold him for not very much. It's kind of interesting because they effectively took quite a big loss on that deal. Although when amortised, they didn't. But he's going to Chelsea for a lot of money, so there'll be a little bit of a kickback. Perhaps even more important, perhaps Inter will actually pay their bill. Because I think if you look in United account, more than 40 million is still owed on that deal. So, maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on at Inter at the moment.
There's some weird stuff going on everywhere, right?
With Tottenham, we're definitely not selling Harry Kane, having just bought one striker and having had a bid accepted for Lautaro Martinez as we speak.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
I did not know that. Okay, well, that is a very upsetting news because I've been clinging on to the desperate hope that City won't sign Harry Kane because with Grealish and Kane, to me, there's no conversation to be had about the league title this season at that point. I mean, there's no meaningful conversation to be had. They've got Pep Guardiola, they just won the league and they've added the two best English attacking talents that aren't called Jadon.
I'm not bitter or anything, but Jadon's numbers are better than Jack Grealish's numbers.
Oh yeah, well, as turns out, Ashley Young's numbers are better than Jack Grealish's. So, which is the best piece of propaganda I've ever seen on the internet was some United account on Instagram. It was in my Explore tab. It was showed that I think Ashley Young's combined goals and assists at Villa were better than Jack Grealish.
Yeah, better per game as well in fewer games.
Yeah, beautiful,
amazing. I mean,
Grealish is an unreal talent.
He's beautiful to watch. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be dumping propaganda out there myself during the season because I don't want him playing for City. It's a real shame United didn't push the boat out and actually sign him last year because Grealish thought that was going to happen, right? So yes, it's a real pity, and you could hardly think of a player in European football that's a more perfect fit for Pep Guardiola's City than Jack Grealish, and he'll become a better all-round player as a result. He may well play at 8. I'm not sure he's going to be playing in a wide position, but I don't think it matters, does it? He's talented enough to play anyway. Anyway, let's talk about City. So look, that's the signings. Should we run through the team a little bit? We talked a lot about the defence, but goalkeeper situations can be interesting, isn't it? Because Hendo's got COVID. And so he's
I didn't know that.
And he's experiencing some long-term fatigue apparently as a result of it. So, and we saw with Paul Pogba at the beginning of last season, people were particularly merciless with Paul Pogba and not understanding how these things have played out. But hopefully, there's a year extra of the pandemic. We understand it can impact even supremely fit sports people in unexpected ways. So De Gea is going to have the gloves for the start of the season, and presumably that means he's going to have to screw up to not have the gloves anymore.
Well, we've signed a keeper who there is genuinely a legitimate argument that he should not be the third choice keeper, and whether it should be that he's the second or indeed first choice keeper is honestly non-trivial. Obviously not at their peak, right? At their peak there's no conversation, but Tom Heaton's a really good, really solid all-round goalkeeper.
He's a solid all-round goalkeeper. I mean, I think it is instructive that his last two roles were on the bench at Burnley and on the bench at Aston Villa. So, he's had
a lot of injury stuff, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And he's had a few games in pre-season, and he's, a former United youth player. He really wanted to come, and I hope he does push the other two,
Yeah.
I mean, David De Gea was at the Euros, didn't play a minute. He's...
Same with... Did Dean Henderson play a minute? No,
he dropped out. He didn't go to the Euros because he had this. He had a hip problem, didn't he? So yeah. I mean, it's going to be with De Gea to start the season, and we're going to have to see whether he's still got the yips or not. Or are we allowed to? I don't know if you're watching this season, Ted Lasso. Are we allowed to use the word the yips?
Well, we need to bring that lady in to sort him out.
If only it was that simple. Perhaps you should give the club a call and say, look,
yeah,
pro bono, I'm going to sort his yips out.
Listen, much like Lionel Messi and Barcelona, even though I love Manchester United, I am not giving that organisation anything pro bono.
Fair enough.
Ted Lasso's so... I love Ted Lasso more than is reasonable. Like, it is good. I stand behind it as like a very good show, but I also it's just for me in a very, very specific way that not much television is, because it's like warm and optimistic without being excessively sentimental most of the time. It strikes the balance right. Anyway, the goalkeeping situation is fascinating. I will be surprised if David De Gea is the number one by the end of this season, because I think we've seen such a body of evidence now of that it isn't some sort of brief blip. He's been in substantial decline for 4 years.
Yeah. Since that one, ungodly good season that he had, it's been in decline. And I agree. I think he will make mistakes, and at some point Henderson is going to end up taking it. Solskjaer's talked about this himself. It's going to be even more difficult this season. So, effectively Henderson got the gloves when, not because De Gea made mistakes, but because De Gea had a baby. He didn't have a baby.
Yeah.
It is his lady had a baby. He watched on or something like that, and then took some time out, and then Henderson had the gloves. And then we had this weird situation where actually the more important tournament was the Europa League, and De Gea had the gloves for that. But this time we don't even have, there is no Europa League, we hope, right? So is Henderson going to be the Champions League goalkeeper and De Gea the Premier League goalkeeper? Because I can't see it. So is Henderson the cup goalkeeper but not the Champions League goalkeeper? Is Solskjaer just going to rotate, which never seems to work? Wherever you are in the world, rotating goalkeepers is not a good thing.
Marcus Rocco and Sergio Romero have both left, right?
Yes, correct. Both, yeah.
Okay, good. Right, okay. Rocco maybe left in January,
actually. He left a while ago, yeah.
To take on security guards with a fire extinguisher in Argentinian football. Like, you couldn't get a more perfect cliche, could you? He puts on a Boca shirt and he becomes an absolute animal. Extraordinary. So that's the goalkeeper's defence we've talked about, except I guess we should briefly mention the apparently real pursuit of Kieran Trippier that happened, clearly wanting to kind of strengthen the options. I mean, I guess in theory he can cover both flanks at fullback, and there is not a lot in the way of fullback cover. Brandon Williams hasn't kicked on.
Gone on
needs a loan. Has he? Right, good. Where to?
It's Southampton. I'm pretty sure I saw it.
Okay. Right, cool.
And I'm pretty sure I did. Or maybe I'm making it up.
Listen, I believe you.
I mean, Alex Telles will provide cover. There isn't cover on the right-hand side unless Dalot stays, but that's not going to be cover in a way that we believe that Solskjaer will ever pick Dalot ahead of Wan-Bissaka. So, I think he wants some. He does want to bring in some real cover at fullback or quality at fullback. You're right, Trippier could play both. I think the one doubt about Trippier is he's not that quick and he's 30. And, does coming into the Premier League, will it show that up? Because he was excellent for Atleti when he wasn't banned for lumping on last season. But it is slower. So, who knows? It
looks like the Brandon Williams deal might not. I've just typed Brandon Williams and Southampton into
Maybe
Google.
I'm making it up.
No, it was happening, and then there was a problem with money and wages and who was going to pay what, apparently. So maybe they'll sort that out between now and the end of the season. Now, if you're United in that situation, like, what kind of bargaining chip do you really have? Southampton aren't going to push the boat out for Brandon Williams, are they? Like, that would not be smart on their part.
No,
anyway.
I mean, Southampton are selling all their players at the moment. So.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, that fullback cover would be, it would be a good signing, Trippier. I'd be surprised, I guess, at this point. It feels like that would have been something that would have been pushed through earlier rather than later. And if you give me the choice between if we do somehow find some player sales out of thin air, you give me a choice between buying a midfielder and Kieran Trippier, I'll take a not that great midfielder every day.
Yeah. I wonder whether Trippier might not go right to the end of the window just because he's out of contract next summer, and I think Atleti will blink eventually, and there's probably a market of one here for Trippier. He's from the area. He wants to move back to the northwest. He wants to be back in the Premier League. So I think the market is one, and Atleti can take 20 million now or nothing next summer. And so the deal will probably get done in the end. And then I don't know anything. I'm guessing. I literally don't know anything about anything, but specifically about this. But if I was to guess, it might be like that. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. The attack we've talked about a lot. The one area that is really complicated is midfield. So there was a lot of talk in the summer after the Varane signing went through that Solskjaer wants to play two progressive midfielders and one holding rather than play McFred. The kind of 4-3-3 with the triangle pointing the other way rather than a 4-2-3-1. Who you play as if you're saying it's a sort of 4-1-2-3, who you play as the one DM at the moment is so unclear. Maybe you could get away with Fred, but funny, like the only bit of the Copa America I watched was the first half of the final. He was substituted at half time because he was so bad in the first half of the final. I'd heard all this stuff about how Fred's had this amazing Copa, and then I watched it and was like, that looks like Fred to me.
Yes, you can't play. Both Fred and McTominay have qualities, but neither of them can play at 6 as one of a pivot. There's no chance. As good as Varane might be in one-on-one situations, and as strong as that may be, that'd be just putting too much pressure. United will give up too many chances, I think. It would be really short-sighted to go into the season trying to do that. So, and I'm sure Solskjaer knows that. So, if there isn't a defensive midfield signing of whatever balance, and I think it can be someone makes a lot of tackles, or it can be sort of a deeper lying one, and then McTominay comes into that 3, a slightly more progressive position. If United go in without that, it's quite short-sighted, and I imagine Ole will end up reverting to McFred as a result.
Yeah, because even like if you're saying that you play a more Carricky sort of figure, or Matic a few years ago-y sort of figure, and then McTominay comes into the 3, well, then you've got to pick between Pogba and Fernandes because there's not enough positions on the pitch. And surely what he wants to do is play one and Pogba and Fernandes I mean, we saw Fernandes play in a more deep role in the Euros, and he was terrible. I mean, he had a terrible, terrible Euros. I think he's obviously cooked. And I mean, you wrote a thing for Scott, so we should say like the Republica Mancunia season preview, which is sold to raise profits for the Macmillan Trafford Centre, is not Trafford Centre, the Macmillan Centre.
Yeah, we're raising money for the
Trafford Centre, but it's a beautiful project, and we've raised like $7,000 over all the years he's been doing it, and it's not a place that gets huge amounts of fundraising.
Yeah.
So you can find it on his Twitter at R_O_M. Or just Google Republica Mancunia season preview. I wrote something about Luke Shaw, and you wrote something about Bruno Fernandes, and you talked about what a shame it was in a way that he was sort of wasted for Portugal playing as deep as he was.
I think that's true. He was knackered, and they couldn't find the right balance with 2 8s, so they ended up switching, didn't they, partway through the tournament to having Renato Sanchez in there, plus a defensive midfielder, and it gave them more balance. And, look, as much as we love Paul Pogba, he's not taking the number 10 spot from Bruno, so it's about finding the right balance. And, Solskjaer tried to find that balance by playing Pogba off the left towards the end of last season, to some effect, I think. And there's a chance he could do that at the beginning of this season because Marcus Rashford's out, so there's an option there for sure. But he's not going to be playing in a double pivot unless United bring in the type of midfielder. And it wouldn't be a Ruben Neves. It would be a Ndidi. I'm just using those as templates.
Sure, yeah.
It would be sort of hard tackling, ball winner, cover lots of ground, defensive midfielder type if you're going to keep Pogba. They keep Pogba if it feels like he's going to... Well, either he just refuses to go and he's waiting out... the final year of his contract for a free transfer to Real Madrid because that's the only way he gets to Madrid, or United don't get the right kind of money out of PSG and they say, well, it's the value of keeping Pogba is greater than the money we'll take in if there's a risk around keeping a Champions League place because you've lost that attacking output or whatever it is. So we'll see. But for all last season, for much of his United career, he's been a brilliant, magnificent square peg trying to be slammed into some round holes, and the balance of the midfield as it is will be that again. So
100%. And that causes all sorts of holistic problems in terms of play breaking down and defensive lapses and, not like that's on him all the time, but just structurally around him.
Yeah. I did think it was instructive he had brilliant Euros, by the way, but didn't he? I mean, he was magnificent. Scored some incredible, magnificent goal and against Switzerland and just
don't want to talk about it.
Pinging passes around. I know. But he got blamed for Switzerland's goal in the 3-0 draw. And, I put a thing out on Twitter at the time saying, here are the 5 mistakes made by France players after Pogba was tackled. Like one, no one said man on at all, did they? Because he was tackled from behind. And then there are a whole bunch of mistakes after that. So I think he sometimes unfairly gets blamed for his defensive side of his game, but often gets fairly criticised too. He doesn't want to, and he's not very good, and has talked about it, not very good at making tackles. So, so United have to solve that problem because he's not suddenly going to become the player that Mourinho wanted him to become. Mourinho made this argument, he should be able to do this, was Mourinho's argument. And it was copied by lots of people in Twitter. He can't do it and he won't do it. You know what Pogba's going to give you? Magnificent range of passing and progressive options, but he needs someone else to do the tackling piece. Or United just sell him, take that money and reinvest sensibly in another type of midfielder.
Absolutely, and then you just got the balance of midfield right. And obviously, it's not going to surprise anyone what I hope happens. I hope we sign N'Golo Kante in the rest of this transfer window. Yet another window of us not being linked to N'Golo Kante.
Have Barcelona got any defensive midfielders? Because they will sell anyone at this point.
If we want a controller in there, would you be prepared to sell us Pedri? What a Euros he had, by the way.
Look, it would be tempting, wouldn't it, just to dangle like 100 million in front of Barcelona and say, can you afford not to take this?
Yeah. I mean, he would just wait out his contract and then go back to Barcelona on a free, right? He's just Fabregas all over again. But we'd get a few years out of him. 100% pass completion in the semi-final, quarter-final, whatever it was. 100%. That's a lot of pass completion. 100% is. I know that you shouldn't really judge players fundamentally on pass completion statistics. It's a very limited and specific statistic. But when it says 100% next to it, that means you didn't give the ball away once in the whole game.
He had a magnificent Euros. Yeah. Anyway, that's a lot about midfield.
But he's their only good player. Yeah, I mean, I just felt that that's the only one we haven't really talked about. We talked about the balance of attack. So I guess in specific terms, we've got Sancho, Rashford, and Martial, who can all play off the left brilliantly, and then even Pogba covering it there. Cavani, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, which way round that goes, playing through the centre as the kind of, I'm imagining a Football Manager depth chart as I'm saying this. On the right, Sancho, Greenwood, big gap, Rashford, like that's, so the right is still the one with the least cover.
Dan James.
Oh my God.
You've forgotten he existed, hadn't you?
Oh God. Man United's Dan James.
But his Euros, Dan James, was the most Dan James Euros you could possibly get. You know, run very, very, very fast, pick the wrong pass. I mean, just over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, we should sell Dan James. Everything I've just said about United's attack and the depth, Jesse Lingard is better than Dan James. Like,
for sure.
Across any of the three positions at the left wing, behind the striker, or on the right, I would take Jesse Lingard over Dan James.
I mean, Jesse Lingard will probably, if he stays, is probably sort of cover for Bruno, really, as is Donny van der Beek, which we haven't mentioned.
That's another player I forgot. So Donny van der Beek has spent the summer
trying to get jacked.
Yeah, like totally huffing protein and hitting the weights. I've never seen a strategy guaranteed to not work more than Donny van der Beek trying to lift his way into Ole Solskjaer's affections.
Romelu Lukaku tried it as well, and it didn't work for him, did it? I think although Romelu Lukaku had, say, how do we say, a more natural level of jackedness than Donny van der Beek, who's more sort of Donny van der Mr. Burns when it comes to frailty, isn't he? I don't see where the balance of Van der Beek is. I just don't see it. I don't see how he gets into this side. You know, even if, I guess you could try and make a case and say United signed that number 6 and play sort of 2 more progressive players, and he's one of the 2 more progressive players. That's the argument, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. If Pogba goes, then it's a different conversation, right? And Van der Beek is clearly barely cover for Bruno in any meaningful way. Like he will only play if Bruno is literally dead in that position. But if you're playing 2 8s and a 6, Van der Beek makes loads and loads and loads of sense, particularly with the players around him. Sure, Rashford and Van der Beek. If Van der Beek plays on the kind of left side of the triangle, Bruno on the right side of the triangle, those passing combinations and intricate little 1-2s around the edge of the box. And Van der Beek's movement is excellent. Like, he's a really, really, really good player. Like, he's not bad at football. We spent 20 minutes talking about United's midfield, and I forgot he existed. Which is not, it says a lot about his.
We'll see if his strategy works. He didn't go to the Euros. He had this injury. It's helped him, I guess.
Get jacked.
Get jacked, yeah. Same with Mason Greenwood. Didn't go, and he's had a summer off, which I think will be good. And he looks lively pre-season. He's had a full pre-season, which many of United's squad will not have had. Hendo didn't go. It's not helped him because he got the plague. So, is there anyone else we've forgotten? Because I feel like we might have forgotten to talk about someone.
I mean, we haven't talked about everyone, but I don't think there's anyone who have overtly forgotten existed. I mean, Nemanja Matic still exists. I mean, there's a lot of players that United could sell. There really are a lot of players that United could sell if only anyone other than 3 clubs in the world had any money.
That is the problem. Basically, it's all going to be loans with options to buy. If you're lucky, an obligation to buy. And it's a miracle if someone actually pays hard cash money for at any substantial level for players outside of the Premier League, right?
Andreas Pereira scored an absolute worldie in pre-season because some things just have to stay the same. But there's no route for him into that team anywhere. Remember when he played almost every game? Solskjaer's done a good job of some things in this squad for sure. Anyway,
for sure, I think we'll see him leave. But again, it's going to be a loan with an option, as it was last season.
It'll be an option, not an obligation. Because I remember us talking about that option and the scale of what a good season he would have to have at Lazio for them to trigger that option, and he did not. He did not have that kind of a season.
He's never had that kind of a season. It was an absolute banger of a goal, though, so he'll always have that.
It really was. Yeah, absolutely. The balance of the team, and I think let's talk about the manager a little bit then. So the squad building continues to go well, apart from being able to get rid of players, which that is definitely not Solskjaer's fault. We're going to see if he's learned from his kind of rabbit in the headlights stuff at the Europa League final, and we'll see if the better balance of centre-back makes him more progressive by nature. It's a big testing season. He has, of course, got a new contract in the summer, which I don't know, that felt to me a bit... Did United really need to do that? Given that it's not like someone's going to come along and swoop Solskjaer up because his contract's running down, right? But then I thought he had 2 years left, and I think actually he only had a year left. And at that point, you kind of need to do it just to send a message to the players, really, that this guy's going to be your manager for the next however many years. Well,
I've got to make sure he's not snapped up by one of the elite clubs around Europe, right? So, and I mean, yes, that's the only reason. They're saying this is a long-term project and Solskjaer's here, because otherwise there would be a lot of chat about whether he was going to remain. Should United not build on last season for whatever reason and somehow... you can make a case for it, right? So here's the sort of bull case. But bull case? Bear case? Whatever.
The bad one. Do you mean the bad one? That's the bear case.
The bear case for United's season. I mean, partly it could be injuries. I mean, I think it would have to be injuries to derail United. Plus, Liverpool, maybe they'll return to some semblance of what looks like a Liverpool team. And Chelsea are spending a lot of money. And all of a sudden, it's quite tight for places in the top 4. Maybe Spurs keep Harry Kane and add a load of attackers, and Nuno goes from being only defensive midfield, only defensive-minded coach to a more attacking-minded coach, and Spurs push for the top 4. I mean, I'm really stretching the case here.
Yeah, I think top 4 looks all right to me.
It does look all right, but, in a situation where it wasn't all right or United fail again in the Champions League and it's not a great season, then that new contract for Solskjaer is not going to look awesome. But I assume in the worst of circumstances, it's not going to cost that much to fire him anyway, if it comes to that. As it is, I think he's probably earned that new contract just about. But with those 2 new signings, and if there is a third, there's a bit more pressure, isn't there? There's a bit more pressure to actually bring home some silverware and make a real fist of a title challenge.
This is the thing, isn't it? Because top 4 this season does almost look nailed on. I mean, especially if we finish 4th, which I think is a completely reasonable prediction. I don't think that's it's actually not, I don't think, ultimately going to be what I predict, because I'm feeling weirdly optimistic about this season. But if the fact that Chelsea have signed Lukaku and what City have done is crazy. Virgil van Dijk's back, and Liverpool are not, like you said, they're not gonna have the season they might, but they shouldn't. There's nothing on paper to say they're gonna have the season they had last season. But they were, apart from maybe a kind of Leicester who've signed well again.
Sorry, totally forgot to think about them in the top four calculations.
I think they're the only ones that are a threat to the big four. I think we're back to a big four in the league, and Tottenham and Arsenal are completely irrelevant, basically. Arsenal obviously are completely irrelevant, and if you're saying Spurs are signing strikers, they're getting ready to lose Harry Kane, and then they are a washed club at that point, to use football Twitter parlance.
Yes, it does look like it. I mean, they signed Son to a new longer-term contract. I wonder how he feels about that if his partner in crime, Harry Kane, does go. Although, presumably he can smell the coffee on that one.
Yeah, exactly. He can smell the coffee on that one. I think you mean read the tea leaves. You've been in America too long.
Yes. I need my morning coffee. It's fairly early here. And yes, I've been in America too long.
So top four is almost like you're almost not judging Solskjaer this season on whether he can get into the top four. You're judging on not winning the league, but making us dream beyond December that the league is a possibility. That's my kind of requirement. Jim Campbell of the Football Ramble said all he wants from England in international tournaments is for them to trick him into thinking that they could win it for a bit, which is like, this season this Euros they took that to an extreme. But I just want United to trick me into believing they could win the league for a bit.
Yeah.
And not blow it if we do make a final.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, and the vagaries of knockout football. I don't imagine United will be among the favourites for the Champions League. But look, apart from fellow English clubs, like Bayern are going to be in a transitional season. I think, new coach, some interesting changes in their squad. They'll be strong, of course, but Barcelona, an absolute mess, as are Real Madrid, and Juve will probably win the league, but by default, because the rest of Italian football is in meltdown. And PSG will be excellent, right? So there are a few, because they're buying absolutely everybody.
Because they bought Sergio Ramos, and now they're buying Lionel Messi.
Well, they paid nothing for Sergio Ramos, nothing for Georgie Wijnaldum, nothing for Donnarumma. I mean, in actual transfer fees, and probably nothing for Messi. Agents' fees and wages, quite high.
I mean, we're talking about Varane and Sancho being a football manager summer. They signed Donnarumma, Ramos, Wijnaldum and Messi.
It's quite a good window.
Yeah, I hate football so much. Modern football is so bad. The Champions League, I just desperately don't want us to finish third in the group. That's it.
God.
That's my only aspiration.
First, second, or fourth. Wait there.
Exactly.
If we're fourth, there's no chance we drop down into the conference, is there?
I don't know the structure, but surely even UEFA haven't done that. If you're in the Champions League, you're guaranteed European football all the way through the season, whatever happens. Surely not. So Solskjaer's going to be judged on the quality of football and how much we look like we're competing with the big boys. I think that's the reasonable. It's almost like at this point we're judging him on. I almost think he's even more than at any point in the process so far. The important thing this season is process, not consequences. Like, are we playing the right way? Are the players playing for him still, which they clearly have been all along? Has he started to be more progressive about his substitutions and do some kind of more advanced in-game management? Is that the sort of stuff that we're seeing? Are we seeing growth, or is he kind of resting on somewhat poorly earned laurels of the fact that he's done the best job post-Ferguson?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see more progressive style, and I think fans will like that. And, I think we're going to get that. I think we'll have some points in the league. And, at least for a while, it's going to look like a challenge. I don't think ultimately United are going to win this league. It would take quite a disaster at City for that to happen. And then Champions League group structure will play a big part, but, we've got to do a better showing. We cannot go to, some third-ranked side as we did in Istanbul and just completely the bed again. That can't happen again. And you're right, Solskjaer has to... I'd like to see more from him. I don't want to see games where we use one substitute in the 85th minute while losing.
No.
I want to see him take control of that, be progressive in the way that we think his team will be. And you're right, that is about him growing. We haven't seen that yet. And I think these are fair sort of KPIs for him this season. And if we get to a final and, lots of vagaries with cup football, bringing home a trophy, even though it's cup football, does matter, does mean something.
Yeah.
So, even though Solskjaer tried to deny it last season.
He certainly did. All right, so it's time for the world famous. We've been doing it for 12 years. World famous among a very select, specific group of people. I was going to say rank cast then. Gosh.
Oh, that's old.
Been a long time. When did we? Was it the beginning of last season we changed the name? Or
it's
the season before?
Halfway through the season before, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, prediction times. So, where are Manchester United going to finish in the Premier League this season?
I think United will finish second, but I think it's going to be really, really tight for second.
Yeah, I think I'm predicting third, which I'm very unhappy about predicting. But that's what I'm
for sure. There's a scenario in which United finish third, look like they're going backwards, but get more points.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure, yeah.
No, I think it's going to go City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool. That's
all right.
I mean, I hate that, but anyway. Who is going to be United's player of the season this season?
It's hard to look beyond Bruno, isn't it? I mean, I think the case for it not being Bruno is he's knackered. He didn't get much of a summer off, and he's shattered, and he burns out quicker than he has done. And he's burned out quite early in both of the seasons he's played for us. A season and a half. Bruno's going to put up huge numbers again because he always puts up huge numbers.
I almost hope it's not him, but not because he's had a bad season, but because someone else has had an even more electrifying season. I mean, that would be incredible if that's the case. But I think Bruno is the logical choice. So I'm going to go with that. But my heart says Sancho. That would be like, if Sancho has a player of the season impact, we might win the league.
Yes, that's right. I mean, if he puts up not last season's Dortmund numbers, but the season before, where he gets like 17 or 18 goals and a similar number of assists, then I mean, that's the A1 perfect, season for Sancho if he does that. He doesn't have to do that to have a good season.
No.
And then Marcus Rashford, he's not going to be back till October. I think that's the right decision. It's a shame for United that you're going to start the season without him, but get that shoulder fixed. It clearly affected him. It was clearly...
Have a rest. Have a rest.
Have a rest. Get the foot problem fixed. Don't play another 60-game season. It'll be better for him and the club in the long run, even if it's a real shame right now. And then it's hard to make a case beyond that. It's hard to make a case for Pogba because he might not be with us and he's probably going to be inconsistent. And if it's a defensive player, if Harry Maguire has player of the season level, season, it's because United haven't done very well, I suspect.
Yeah. Although Luke Shaw, that wouldn't necessarily mean that if he goes back to back in Players Player of the Year.
I mean, if Shawberto wins Players Player of the Season again, wouldn't that be 3 seasons out of 4 or something like that?
Yeah, you're right. It will be. Oh my God, I love that guy so much. His Euros, because he didn't play the first game. And by the final, there's nobody in the world. Like, if you had said to us in September 2020, Luke Shaw is going to be England's best player in the Euros, and England will have got to the final, I mean, we would have not stopped laughing. I was thinking about this when I wrote about him. It wasn't just that he got 0 assists and 0 goals in the season before last. It was that basically every goal we conceded, we were talking afterwards, like, if we'd been pundits on the telly and had the thing where you highlight a player, we'd have been like putting the spotlight on Luke Shaw's position going, look where he is compared to the rest of him. The transformation has been absolutely complete. And it's one of those things that makes you just think, just stay humble when you talk about a player being rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Like Lindelof, say, who actually also had a decent Euros, and worth saying that in the stretch that he was in, he looked better. But just when you write off players, there's so much going on behind the scenes, and the Shaw flank redemption is always possible.
Yeah, I think that's a fair commentary, except for Dan James. I'm writing him off. He'll never be any good. And with all of what I've just said, I'm picking Anthony Martial to be the next player of the season. That will take a miracle or a smoking a lot. A lot. Anyway, I don't think that'll happen. I think there's a very good case for United selling Martial now. I wouldn't have said that before because I think the talent is there, but it's just not. It's we've seen it so infrequently. It would take a Shaw level of progression for him to suddenly be good. But who knows? He shaved his head.
Yeah,
he's come back looking mean. He's been out a long time, of course. It's nearly 5 months now since his last game. Meaningful game. He was broken for at least 2/3 of the season last season in terms of when he did play. It was terrible. All right, so who is going to be United's top scorer? Well, that's a difficult one, isn't it? So I guess I'm going to have to say Bruno because I don't think Cavani will play all of the games. At his age, he shouldn't really. But hey, he's going to start the season as United's number 9, isn't he? But I think they'll hold him back a little bit because they want him to play Champions League games, and they might hold him back for some of the games in the Premier League. So I'm going to say Bruno, but it might be close.
I'm going Cavani all comps. Cavani top scorer all comps. Jadon Sancho coming into the side. Sancho's assist provision and Cavani's movement. Yikes.
Yeah, but Bruno's going to get 97 penalties, isn't he? Because
true. Oh my God. Yeah.
With Sancho running at players as well.
I don't even want to talk about this, but they've changed VAR again. I tell you what, let's not go into that today because we're a bit times a little bit against
next
us.
Week.
Yeah, as it starts to kick in, we'll go through.
We'll talk about the thick lines.
Who's going to win the FA Cup?
I have no idea. Liverpool.
Man United. There's my pick for the FA Cup.
Good.
And League Cup, obviously, Man City are going to win the League Cup. It's the Pep Guardiola Carabao Memorial Trophy.
They might as well call it the Etihad League Cup, mightn't they?
Yeah. Pep Carabao Guardiola. And are you having City for the league?
I'm having City for the league, yeah. And then, you could have them as one of the favourites for the Champions League as well. And you probably do.
PSG signed Donnarumma and Messi and, not Messi yet, but not Ramos yet. And
maybe Ed Woodward will do a madness and convince Messi that his future is at United. Does he even fit? Where do you get in the team?
Where do we play him? Like maybe he could finally fulfill his destiny and go deeper into pitch and play at 6 as a controller. Imagine if Woodward signs Messi to play number 6. Anyway, Man City aren't winning the Champions League this season. PSG are going to win the Champions League this season. That is what's going to happen. Like that's. Maybe they won't because football is weird, and you can only put 11 players on the pitch and da. But they've signed. If you want people with Champions League winning experience, and you sign Ramos and Messi, you're probably like. Final pieces of the puzzle looking pretty good there.
But in which training session of the first week does Ramos break Messi's legs?
The other thing that I was thinking about that is, has there ever been a better goalkeeper who has been more frequently replaced than Keylor Navas?
Yeah, apart from Sergio Romero. Safe hands.
But like, people didn't get bought to replace Sergio Romero. People keep going, oh, yeah, you know what? This Keylor Navas guy, like, he's pretty good, but he looks like a bit of a Poindexter. So that's why Real Madrid got rid of him.
Anyway. Yeah, it's so which of Real Madrid, talking about them, and Barcelona and Juventus are going to win the inaugural Super League then?
They're the only ones left in, aren't they?
That's right.
They still haven't given up.
No, they're in court. They're trying to challenge UEFA's jurisdiction over football. They still want to start this thing up again.
I mean, United have signed Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane because a bunch of people threatened to burn the stadium down, but they will just actually burn the stadium down if they go back into the Super League.
Yeah. We for as much as we've complained about the Glazers and Ed Woodward and Matt Judge and the rest of them over the years, they almost look competent compared to the people who are running Barcelona.
Barcelona and Inter, and there is.
Inter's very specific because the Chinese government have ordered Suning to stop investing. So it looks like there's going to be a fire sale there. But Barcelona, I mean, they have 1.3 billion euros worth of debt, and even though they knew approximately what the sort of top-down figure, because La Liga proscribe, what the wage cap is going to be for each club based on their revenues, and Barcelona's revenues have fallen. They've got all this debt to service. Even though they knew what it was going to be approximately, they still signed 4 players on big wages. Free Sancho.
It's mad.
It's absolutely mad.
And none of the players they've signed are any good.
And none of them are going to play because they can't register them. They've still got the same problem as they had with Messi, in that they are new signings. I mean, they let Messi's contract run down to nothing, which basically makes it look like they were happy for him to go, basically. And it's probably the best outcome for all parties. But, Aguero, yes, he's shot.
He's good though. No, sorry, he is really good. But he's
he was
a
good.
bit old.
He's
still good. He was like, every time he played last season, he was really good still.
And his best mate has just off to PSG. But
he's playing with the wrong Sergio. He's going to be playing with Sergio Ramos, his worst enemy, instead of Sergio Aguero, his best mate.
Yeah, I know. It's just amazing. They've got to sell. They've got like 3 weeks to sell a whole bunch of players to get the wage bill down enough that they can actually register Aguero and Memphis in the team.
And there's no market for those players. Like, if Barcelona don't have any money, then, Real Sociedad don't have any money. Like, this is one of the things that I was going to predict is there's going to be some catastrophic events in football. I mean, this is a horrible prediction to make, but I think there's going to be some catastrophic events in football that will... we had the Super League last season, which sort of threatened the whole structure of football, but actually the kind of rallying cry against it ended up being even maybe a little bit of hope or optimism that something more positive could happen. I don't think it will be in the Premier League, but I think in La Liga or the Bundesliga or Serie A, some pretty wild stuff is going to happen. Some team's going to not be able to field a side, or some craziness is going to go down.
Yeah, we don't know how COVID will play out with restrictions being eased in some European countries, and the financial situation is coming to a head. Especially in France, we could see clubs go to the wall in the middle of the season, and then Italy. No one has any money there, and Juventus may win the league there by default for being the least worst. Basically, So, and we've seen this, like, the only teams that are spending money around Europe are Premier League teams and state-run teams, and sometimes they cross over.
Yeah, I mean, Grealish and Kane, obviously that would be an unbelievable window for City. Leicester just continue to buy all the players that you look at and go, oh, why don't we just take a punt? Why do we wait for Leicester to sign them and their value to be inflated? And they've signed all the players that if you like watch Tifo Football's sensible transfers stuff or whatever, all the players that if you go through the data and it's like, well, I think this guy's really undervalued, Leicester just signed them all. So They continue to be the hipsters' favourites.
They do. I think the big problem for them is, of course, they've lost Fofana for probably quite a long time with a really unpleasant-looking leg break.
Of course, I forgot about that.
So that might impact them. I mean, they've got some cover there, and they've still got time to spend. Evans and Soyuncu will start that season, you imagine, but they're going to have to bring in another defender. But if they keep Maddison, because they haven't sold a big player yet this summer, if they keep Ndidi and Tielemans just signed a new contract, so it looks like he's definitely staying, they've got the core of a very good team again. Yeah.
Chelsea have essentially addressed their one remaining big weakness. I think they are going to be a massive threat. I think Lukaku, with the support and in the role, Tuchel's not going to do what Mourinho did and try to make Lukaku a target man. Tuchel's much too smart for that.
No, and Werner will, assuming they're keeping him, and it looks like they are, playing off the left will be a much better, and having some competition for that role with Pulisic, they're going to be much stronger there. They do look like they've got a very good and balanced squad, don't they?
Yeah.
And especially if they bring in another defender, because that was a big problem for them, central defence. They do look very strong.
Yeah. Arsenal are having a terrible time, obviously. The idea that James Maddison should go to Arsenal, leave Leicester for Arsenal, and that would be an uptick is when you're dropping 5 league table positions. Villa look to have built on their kind of continued progress and have spent the Grealish money ahead of time wisely. I think Danny Ings is Ings and Watkins up front. That's big.
I mean, it depends how they play, of course, and what kind of system. I mean, maybe instead of a 3-4-3, they go to a sort of 3-5-2 system to get both of them in the side, or Watkins is going to end up playing wide. But they've moneyballed that money, haven't they? They've bought the metrics they've lost. So Christian Perslow said. Which kind of, I mean, Perslow loves a camera, doesn't he? He's never seen a camera he doesn't want to get in front of, and very much likes the sound of his own voice as well, which after an hour and something of this podcast, listeners may be thinking the same about us. But anyway, I agree. They've spent the money wisely, and I think they'll have a decent season, Villa.
Are you picking PSG for the Champions League?
Yeah, unfortunately. God, it's just miserable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's grim. It's
the two favourites are City and PSG.
Yeah, as proper, as grim gear, to quote the podcast I've listened to most in the summer, which has been The Grey Cricketer. The one more thing we've got to predict: relegation from the Premier League. All I want is for Brentford to stay up, because I love it. I love what they do and what they've done. It might be really hard for them. They're not going to go. They're going to try and do this sensibly. They might well take the model that actually, if they return to the Championship strengthened financially,
yes,
then they can build a team that in 2 or 3 seasons' time comes back up and stays up.
Yes, I know. I mean, there's 2 models, isn't there? Spend enough money now to try and guarantee 17th place, or do that, spend sensibly, keep the money in their pocket now and the parachute payments, and they have a huge advantage over the rest of the Championship. So, I mean, yes, it's going to be a struggle for them. Southampton do not look good, do they? I mean,
they don't.
They do not. And Watford, I don't think they've signed anyone yet, Watford, of note. So they don't look very strong either. Newcastle.
Norwich lost Buendia as well.
Norwich lost Buendia, and we'll see whether they can keep Cantwell, who had another good season, and we'll see. And Newcastle. I mean, they had a very strong end to last season, but they've done no business. And
I think they'll be, unless they have the same sort of injury problems they had last season, I think they're going to be fine. Because actually, if they finished on 43 points or something like that, and given that the teams that have come up don't look ready-made, and this would be one of the least surprising seasons ever for the teams that have come up to go straight back down. And you've got Southampton. I think Brighton and Newcastle are both going to be relatively comfortably clear of relegation by the end of the season. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm predicting West Ham to go down.
It would be fun.
Yeah. The other thing that we should talk about briefly, I know we've got to go really, but Rafael Benitez is the Everton manager. What? How has that happened?
I mean, Farhad Moshri is putting so much money to that club, and he's wasted almost all of it. And then he goes and, seriously, he's like, how do you make a fortune? How do you make a small fortune out of football? Start with a big one, right? He's living that. And then he goes and appoints Rafael Benitez, who's going to play football with a pretty crappy squad, and he's a former Liverpool manager.
If you're an Everton fan, what do you want, right? You want a manager who plays bright, nice, attacking football, and a manager who's never managed Liverpool. Those are the only two criteria. And if you've got a manager who used to manage Liverpool, he's got to play good football. And if you've got a manager who plays terrible football, he can't have been a Liverpool manager.
In the least surprising first decision that Benitez has made is apparently doesn't fancy James. So, you shock me. I am shook about that one.
Maybe he'll go to PSG too. All right. Well, I think that just about does it. I mean, we'll be back. I can't promise bi-weekly podcasts twice a week, given the challenges of work and time differences and all that sort of stuff. We can say, though, that we'll be back every week. And obviously, if you back us on Patreon, normally what we do is we talk about United on the main show, and then we'll do a bit about what else has been going on in football, especially we pretty much covered most Premier League games last season, or a lot of them anyway. So that's added on to the end of the show. You'll have heard some differences if you've listened to us for a long time. You probably got really bored of our little bumpers. I think we've taken those out of this show. So at the end of every show or the beginning of every show, we will tell you what our various social media is. I've permanently deleted my Twitter account finally, so that is actually gone. But you can follow Ed at NQAT Pod on Twitter, which is also where you can find both of us on Instagram. Ed does really good little match reviews, and I reply to messages. That's how we balance the labour on Instagram. Oh, and I put stupid stuff in the stories, obviously.
Well, I'm sure you'll continue to do that. Put stuff in the stories, that is. Stupid or not stupid, we'll judge at the end of the season.
What's our YouTube channel called, Ed?
NQAT Pod. Same. I mean, it's a very niche group of people that like to watch their podcasts, and we don't actually do it live. It's just a funny wiggly thing. But if you like that, it will be there too. But you're listening to this on some podcast app of your choice. We're on all platforms, so you can find us anywhere.
Absolutely. And if you're on a platform that has rating, super helpful to us if you rate the show. And of course, patreon.com/NQAT pod if you want a bit more from us every single week. Thank you to everyone who does that. And we will be back after the Leeds game, which we haven't predicted in any depth. I would just like to say I am absolutely terrified for this game. I think that they'll be better cooked and better prepared than us, and I am predicting a 2-1 loss for the first game of the season.
Oh, no, you can't.
I've done it. It's out there. It's recorded.
No, I'm going to predict a United win. Somehow we're going to be spurred on to win. Somehow with a team full of undercooked players. There's some who've had a good summer. Some.
Yeah, true.
Not many. Most have not had much pre-season. It's not quite as bad as last season, but it's not...
Nowhere near as bad as last season.
Nowhere near as bad. Some players had 0 pre-season. So they are undercooked. But I'm going to predict a draw. We're going to get away with a draw. Against Bielsa's team who've, the day after the season finished, were probably running up Mount Everest to make sure their fitness was sharp.
They've done since the last day of the season is just run to Old Trafford across the Pennines and back again. And that's in preparation for this game. So, yeah. Oh, whilst listening to recordings on a loop of what their tactical positioning had to be during the game. So it was drilled into their subconsciouses. Leeds' second game of the season, they might lose. They're not losing this one. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I hope they do get beaten 6-2 by us and we look brilliant and it's really exciting. That could also happen. We'll be back next week. See you all then.
Bye now.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Don't give up comfort for style. Mack Weldon's Ace Collection makes it effortless to look good while feeling comfortable. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MAC25.